Welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Sherman Webb Middlebrooks, the lifelong Buffalo resident and full-time Black man. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the good brother, Antoine Johnson.
What's happening, good people? Thank you for tuning in for another episode. We are back, as Sherman said, with another episode, and we got Daniel with us. I was about to mess his name all up.
Already.
How you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back with y'all brothers. Continue talking about the work. It's always nice to be in the space with y'all, my fellow partners in the work. So let's get to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, I feel like I got to know you on another level with the retreat we did a couple weeks with the Oshai Foundation, which was cool. I think I mentioned it last time we were here, just in terms of like, that was probably like one of the better leadership development things I've been involved in since I've been working in this space, just being able to connect with other leaders. Obviously I know you, but then other leaders of color in the community, like that was cool. What was your experience like?
Man, I'll tell you one thing, we'll never do 4 days again. That was a lot. Yeah, we did 4 days because this year we launched the youth sport management component of Breaking Barriers. So that's exposing young men to the other side of sports. So we're talking about sports agents. We're talking about the physical trainers. We're talking about the folk that work in the front office. And a lot of times our young men, when you talk about sports and when they think about sports, it's, I want to play. I want to be, Steph Curry. They want to play the game. But in reality, we know only this many of our young men are going to actually elevate to a level where they get to even play college ball. Right. And that number even decreases even more by the time you get to the professional arena. So it's really exposing those young men to other avenues and careers in sports. So that was the first day. And then we went into the traditional kind of retreat with our different breakout workshops. PT, always got to give a big shout out to PT. He came in and did his piece around understanding your purpose, finding your purpose and passion. And, I know y'all brothers know all about that. We had my brother Jason German come out. Shout out to Jason, captain of the fire department. He's also a certified yoga instructor, so he did a piece with the young men. My man Gentino from G Coat Fitness came out and did a boot camp session with the young men. So it's a great time when you can create a space where young men and our elders, the OGs, can come together and just build and bond with one another, and we need more of that.
So you went a different direction, but that was cool. So that was a nice, piece for me, because I take myself real serious, too serious sometimes, and like being able to like just play ball with them in games, and obviously like so they got a little too silly at some points, but it was nice because, and I forget who else I was talking to about this, but I'm like, man, like being an adult, it's like you always got to be on, right? Like very seldomly do we get time, especially as men, Black men, with families and so forth, where we could just like let our hair down and relax and stuff like that and be silly. And so being able to bond with the young people, like made me, think about when I was a teenager, just, hanging out with my friends. So that was a nice opportunity. Another thing that I noticed was like just the connections and so forth that they were making with each other. It seemed like they, and I know it was kind of challenging for you at times. And I couldn't imagine. I was like, this is why like I work with adults.
Come on over to that youth development side.
Come on over here now. Working with young people, that's my favorite population of people to work with. Because they keep you on your toes, like, and it's never boring working with them. Like, and their lives are like incredibly exciting, and it's better than whatever Mona Scott is putting on VH1. Like, if you in the drama, like, just sit down and talk with a young person. Like, they got a whole bunch of stories that they willing to share and tell you. And you be like, what? But it's like, then you see your role is like, not just to hear the story, but like, all right, you dealing with this. I probably went through something similar. Yeah. Let me help you navigate through this, like, because I've been through something similar. Or, like, I can point you in the direction of somebody else, or help you kind of like understand like what you're going through and what this means. So like, for me, that's the fun. And like working with young people, like when they come to you with like all their craziness and like all their problems, it's like not for like lack of a better term, but they like walking like crossword Sudoku puzzles. So it's like, all right, what do I got to put here to get this person to success? What ingredient is this kid missing? So I'm just always like trying to process and figure out like what's the missing ingredient to this young person's success. Yeah. And for me, like that's kind of fun because they are different, right. And like they gonna require like they gonna give you different challenges. So some people like they might disappear on you. Some people might be too clingy. Like, so you gotta like understand that they are different and like require different approaches. So for me, it's like, I don't know, it's an artistry to like human interaction when you're working with young people.
See, that's why you do it. That's why you're good at what you do. All that stuff you just explained is a lot. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff to consider. And I think you really gotta have a passion for that. You know, otherwise you'll be burnt out and irritated and all the other stuff. Yeah, I really enjoy working with like young adults, right? Like yesterday I had an opportunity to go present at UB. So I went through the EOP program back when I was in college. And so I had an opportunity to go present to some EOP students. And like that was cool. Like, you know, they weren't super engaged, but like just being able to talk about like the experience that I had in terms of like navigating and like helping them. So they had like transfer students and then so apparently there's a stigma on saying freshmen now. Right, so the institutions don't want to say freshman; they say first time student or first year student. I'm like, what's that about? Like it's the same thing. but anyways, so you know, first time student.
So what? Sophomore year, you a second year college student, like freshman.
So we're gonna replace terms with like longer words that mean the same thing as the original term.
Listen, man. We just in
that's an EOP thing. I was always jealous of y'all EOP people anyway.
Yeah, this is my EOP hoodie. So it's crazy that you mentioned that. Yeah, shout out to Duville University. On the back of the hoodie, it say HEOP works because when you go to private school, it's got to be HEOP. But still,
I mean, yeah, we ain't had no hoodies, but all right, cool.
Yeah, so I still work with our program too. So like at going to like a smaller Catholic school, like most of the black kids there, like if you're not an HEOP, they assume you're an HEOP. And then there comes certain stigma when you go into like this school that like if you're an HEOP, like you ain't got it, or whatever the case may be. And so working with these young people who need that extra support, like the entire like staff and campus is like mainly like women and they got like a lot of support staff, but like I'm literally doing like a support group for like the young men like every other week just for like to keep them in because they're like, yo, our retention numbers are terrible. Like we can get the students in, but like once, and they can do the work, we can get them the tutors, but like the culture and the environment of being on this campus is like, it's hard on a young black kid, especially a young black kid from out of town too. And so like giving them a sense and a space where like they can come together, talk about whatever the issues are on campus. And I'm like, I was working with them over the summer, doing some leadership work. And so the students asked if I can come back. And so, like, I've been doing that, and it has, like, I like working with that population, too, because they're not, like, the high school age young people. And I work with different populations. So I like the honor roll student. Give me the honor roll student. That's cool. But, like, also give me the young kid that just returned home from juvie. Like, that's a different skill set. But, like, it's, again, like, we got different goals. But, like, at some point, like, I like the kid that's in college and, like, we working on, like, your career. Like, just use different parts of my brain. So, like, that's why I like working with diverse groups of young people, too.
I see. Yeah. Speaking of young people, that's a good segue into talking about this opportunity that Daniel and I recently got. And we've been working on this grant that came across our table last year, or this year.
Earlier in March. March 2023, yeah.
Me, you, and PT sat down and we, going at it for about 2 months working on this grant. And lo and behold, we ended up getting it. Right. So all about mental health and wellness. And our population, for me, it's fathers and men, you as young men. So we got it now. So it's, it's I always think it's funny with grants sometimes because like on one hand, you be like, yeah, I want it. On the other hand, it's like, I get it. And like now the work starts, right? Like, when I don't get them sometimes I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I don't gotta do nothing. But like when you get it and it's like game on, right? And this one is super intense. So let's just talk a little bit about like, this opportunity and what this means for like some of the work we've been doing and the folks that we need to impact.
Yeah, man. I think that was a great segue. So for me, number one, out the box, it allows us that collaboration and ability to partner, right? So being two young men that are doing some very impactful and important work in the community. That's always important. And, just a little tip out there for folk that are applying for grants. They always love to see cross collaboration with different partners, right? So that was the first thing. The second thing for me, you brought up the retreat. This work now allows us to build upon that, right? Yeah. So continuing to create spaces where men and young men can come together and have conversations that they may not normally have. Like those conversations that you're having with the young men over at Duville, need it. It helps them to stay connected, but it also allows them an outlet, somebody that they know they can trust to talk about what's going on. And when we talk about health, mental health and wellness, especially for Black men, we don't have enough spaces where we can do that. So I'm excited about a lot of things that we're going to do within, I think we got less than 130 days. Now, so under the gun, but we're going to make it happen, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, just to get a little bit more specific, one of the reasons why OMH is doing this work is it came out of the tragedy with 514 in 2022. I say that right, 2022. Yeah. So, that we're targeting specific zip codes, right? So they're real specific. So we're looking at 14211, 8, 08, and 09. Ironically enough, my grandmother lived on Maston all my life. So I spent my entire childhood growing up over there. So, both of my grandmothers, as a matter of fact, my great grandmother just passed this year. My other grandma lives on the same street across the street. So I, pretty much born and raised over there. Then I used to live on Glenwood, all through high school. So that's right, almost right around the corner. So me and my mother, we didn't have a car. So we used to walk the tops, all the time. So real familiar with that area. I think there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunity. Matter of fact, we're doing the podcast right in the same area, right? Ironically enough. So, we, like you said, we got our task in front of us in terms of the work. But I think that this is a good opportunity for us to deepen a relationship and partnership, but then also make an impact. I really want to see something come out of it other than just the activities, right? An impact.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly important too. And so I love the fact that the focus is shifting for us as men to be able to have these conversations, and the idea of what mental health is changing. So it doesn't necessarily have to look like being on meds, or doesn't have to look like going and laying down on the therapist's couch. It literally can be what we're doing right now. This is therapeutic for me personally, or to the viewer that's watching this and hearing what we're talking about and seeing men who look like us talking about what we're talking about. That might be therapeutic for them passively to hear and listen to. And so if you start reframing your brain to say I'm listening to this and this is a therapeutic practice, you might receive some therapeutic benefits from it. So just increasing people's level of awareness of what they can do to just improve their overall mental health, wellness, and functioning. That doesn't look, like I said, getting on some antipsychotic meds, or doesn't look like necessarily seeing a psychiatrist. Right. And so just creating those spaces where we can come together and just normalize what we're doing right now.
Yeah. And you touching on it, that was one of the things, right? Non-traditional approaches to therapy and support. So, Chris always says, Dr. Chris at UB always talks about how talking is therapy, right? And we, I agree to large extents. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing it. As a matter of fact, I had this article that I was looking at before I came here, and it was talking about the pressures of Black men, just as fathers, and providers, right? Because we had this whole thing around, men, especially Black men, are supposed to be providers. But it's talking about nowadays, not only are we supposed to be providers, but we're also supposed to give the emotional support. You know what I'm saying? So I know for me, my wife is super, I don't want to say emotional because that doesn't do her justice, but she expresses her emotions. She expects me to express my emotions and show up for her emotionally when she needs it, for her and the kids, right? And so I think, 40, 50 years ago, that wasn't really a thing, right? Fathers, breadwinner, go out, make some money, come home, take care of your family. Wasn't nobody expecting you to do much else. Right. Nowadays, we're, provider, nurturer, emotional support, all the above.
Protector, superhero, all of that.
All of that, right? And while that's not necessarily it's something bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But
this is what it is.
It is what it is, and it is a higher level of expectation of us men, which puts more pressure on us mentally, right? So it goes back into like the mental health and wellness, because the more expectation, the more time we need to be able to release and collect ourselves as it relates to our mental health and so forth. So,
so what you're saying, like, I agree, and I think the best thing that has worked for me, I'll say, is talking and verbalizing it. So like when you come into these different spaces, again, the benefit of showing up is you don't know who else shows up. So like if I'm living in an echo chamber, kicking it with the same people I've been kicking it with my whole life, I'm not getting new information, new perspectives, new feedback to my behaviors and my thoughts, my values, my beliefs. So I show up to a group, some different brothers in here with different values and beliefs. I might pick up some game. I might get something from them, and it impacts how I show up. And so I think like that's the one thing that we fail to like really do intentionally and find value in. The other thing I was gonna say is, you know how they had that post about you put the dad in the mom role and he'll crumble. So like just due to the nature of like the work that I do and the work that like my daughter mom does, like she travels because she has a role in the community too, right? And we play similar roles. And so she has to travel for work, like right now. And so like once again, like I'm in that, like I don't got no help. So we share responsibilities. And if I ever needed to tag out my partner, hey, look, I need you. I'm stressed out. I need you to get on mommy duty. Yeah. And if she's stressed out, hey, just a little kid is getting to me. I need you to be on daddy duty. And when we usually have each other's back. But when you don't have that option for backup, it's a little bit different. Yeah. And so just being in that situation, like yesterday was a long day, right? I had a lot going on, stressed out, dealing with, logistics. And like, it was probably about 9:00. I'm trying to get her ready for bed. Her mom is like 2 hours away in a different time zone and is trying to call. And I'm like, bruh, try and get her in the bed because I can't relax until she's asleep. And like, I need to relax because I got to get up earlier than usual to take her to school. So like, my whole program is thrown off. I'm not complaining. I'm just doing whatever's necessary in order to meet the demands of my responsibility. Yeah. In order to show up and do what I got to do, I need time to decompress and relax. Exactly. So like, I'm doing what I need to do. Bro, just talk. If you don't take this tablet, take this phone and go talk to your daughter in that room. Like, go to bed. And like, I'm like, yo, just talk to your mama until you fall asleep. Like, you want to talk to her so bad, you on mommy duty for the night. But I had to like make that executive decision and just say, all right, you got it. You want to be involved. I'm not about to stress myself out. Like, is she sleep yet? Can I relax? Is she sleep yet? Forget it. And so just thinking about like how I had to communicate that to my daughter's mom. So she knew where I was coming from. My attitude wasn't about her. Yeah. I had to communicate that to my daughter. My attitude isn't about you. It's not you. Don't take it personal. It's about me recognizing my responsibilities and doing what I got to do. And I had a long day that stressed me out with stuff that had nothing to do with y'all. Yeah, so I don't want to take it out on y'all.
Mm-hmm. Would you do that analogy? Kick the dog?
Yeah, just the kick the dog thing. Yeah, you go to work and your boss kick you. You can't kick back because you need your job. So you come home and like you either kick the dog or kick your wife, kick the kids, because that's where you can exercise some power at. Right. And so just understanding like the power I had was not to kick them. The power I had was to kick it with them. Right. Explain to them what's going on with me. So you don't got to fill in the blanks. Why is he acting like this? Why are you talking like this? Where's his attitude coming from? Yeah. I'm telling you it has nothing to do with you too.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that comes with what I was talking about with the emotional wellness piece, or not emotional wellness, but like the expectation to be like more emotionally in tune. So you maybe unlike the general population of men, very, very not necessarily are not just articulate, but like you're able to verbally process your emotions well, right? So being able to explain why you're feeling a certain way as it relates to those around you is not as common as we might like to think. You know what I'm saying? Because that is what keeps you cool, right? But then it also keeps you from going to a place that you might otherwise go because you're able to self-regulate and not regulate emotion, right? And not every man can do that. I'm working on that. not every man can do that. Man can do that as well as you can do that. As we're wrapping up though, any last minute thoughts or anything you guys want to share, just in general?
Man, just some of the work that's coming up. So in essence, we're kind of taking this show on the road, right? So podcasting in the barbershops. Shout out to my barber, Lamar Mackey. You know, we utilizing that space. Your barber as well, right, Hakeem?
Yeah.
Styles of Man, yep, right? Yep. Styles of Man, razor sharp. So be on the lookout for those dates. We're gonna be doing the winter retreat with some sons and fathers out at Holiday Valley.
Got to pack January.
Yeah, January. We're gonna do the mental health and mentoring awareness forum over at Northland.
The 20th.
Yeah, right. 20th of January. We're going to be working with Gentino and doing some boot camps and fitness activities with men in our community. So we're trying to create these spaces and bring men together to make sure that they are on a journey to good mental health and not stressing about all the things that we as men oftentimes stress about, which we still going to stress about, but find ways of kind of regulating that stress, right, in productive ways so that we can show up and be the men that we need to be in our communities every day. So a lot of different activities coming up. I'm excited. We're going to hit the ground running and just do it up, man.
That was well said. You know, you made me think about like this whole narrative change around what we're trying to do. So hopefully one of the things that I hope we accomplish out of this is that men feel a lot more comfortable with doing some of what we're doing now and just being able to flush out, talk about things that they're dealing with and not feel ashamed when they need to call another brother up or go seek mental health support or whatever, right?
Yeah, you want them to feel like that's the first thing you're supposed to do. Yeah. First thing you're supposed to do.
In our next episode, we're going to be interviewing Ms. Tisha Parker of Rooted in Love. Just learn a little bit more about, you know, what she's doing in the community and talking a little bit more about fatherhood.
Word. So make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Make sure y'all share this with somebody who could find value from this. And stay tuned for that next episode. Peace.